Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV and our racing tipping service with Paul Alster back with the selections for the fifth and final day of what has been a very tough Royal Ascot. But great racing, no doubt about that. And conditions absolutely changing for the fourth and fifth days of the meeting. Well, if you're new to the service, we're always looking for decent price runners. You won't find us tipping many favourites at all. And if you want to stay following us, just press the subscribe button just below this screen. Now, it's fair to say, and as one or two of you have noted, it hasn't been a great first 3 days. This bulletin for Saturday is being recorded Friday lunchtime, by which point the ground has changed from good to firm to soft. Day 3, our Thursday selections were, how can I put it, not good. It didn't go well. I'm going to leave it at that, apart from mentioning that Sir Lamorak, I thought, was a little bit unlucky. Had to circle the whole field, just got beaten a neck. That was the one I really had my colours pinned to. But a neck is as good as a distance when it comes to backing horses. Each way, of course, we were on at 5, got the money back, but I was disappointed. I thought Sir Lamorak would win. The other 3 races, I'm afraid we were miles away and things just didn't go our way at all. But that's the way it goes with the horse racing, especially when you're not tipping short price ones. And one thing I should just mention here is that I know that some people, when you're going through the course of a 4 or 5 day fixture and things aren't going well, there's a tendency to start looking for some shorter price ones to try and get stuck into, sticking plenty on and trying to bail yourself out. Don't do that. It's a quick way to the poorhouse, believe me. Stick to your guns. I'm sticking to my way of picking horses. It's worked so many times, so successfully over the last 9 to 10 months. I've got no reason to believe that it won't come through in the long run as well here. One thing I want to mention as well before I give you my 4 selections for Saturday is that the debacle that I spoke about with Stunning Beauty on the second day. First of all, thank you to so many of you who reported on the comments just what your bookmaker did or didn't do. Some have performed much better than others. And I also read on the international racing feeds that certainly in the United States and in Hong Kong, they were absolutely horrified that people's money wasn't given back. And as one journalist said, in order to lose, you have to have had a chance to win. And certainly Stunning Beauty never had a chance to win because it didn't come out of the stalls because the hood was on. But I'm going to leave it there. I do hope they make some sort of a change to the rules because it was an embarrassment, especially to all those people betting internationally into the tote pools who are watching what happened and in their own jurisdiction would have got their money back. But because they took the trouble to support British racing and bet British, they lost their money for a horse that didn't even run. So I'm going to leave it there. Knocked is the phrase I think that's best used. Now, this bulletin being recorded Friday lunchtime, and so we don't know what's going to happen to our horses on Friday, other than that Sacred is a non-runner. 2 of my other 3 have been very heavily backed. November is 5 to 1 from 14s in the Coronation Stakes, the German filly I told you about. I hope you're on at the big prize. Let's hope she runs well. Samut, 7 to 1 from 16s in the big handicap. A few non-runners, but still very well backed. And Caroline Dale in the last, the sprint handicap. Not much money for her really because the ground has changed so much. We'll see how she fares. But on now to Saturday, the last day of the meeting. The growing, I think, is going to be at least soft. And my first recommendation is in the 305 race, the Group 3 Jersey Stakes. Always a good race, this. Over 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds only. 19 due to run. And this really is a very wide open renewal. There's no outstanding candidate. Godolphin have got 3, including Naval Crown, who was 4th in the 2,000 guineas. But will he go on this much softer ground? Interesting one for Jane Chapel-Hyam. The unbeaten Belosa, who's 2 from 2, including a listed win at Newmarket. Mutasadek, he's interesting too for Charles Hills, 7th in the Guineas and has won on testing ground, so he's likely to be very prominent in the betting. There's a French raider as well, and that one, whose name I can't read my own writing here, Fast Racer or something like that. I'm sure it isn't. But anyway, it's Unexposed, the name of the horse, has escaped me. But that will go on the ground, I think. Now, Jessica Harrington's runner from Ireland, Ace Aussie, runner up to the 2,000 guineas and subsequent St James's Palace winner, Poetic Flair at Leopardstown earlier in the season. But I'm not sure quite how well it's going to go on this ground. Now, Her Majesty the Queen hasn't had a winner as yet at Royal Ascot this year. She's got two runners in the race. She's got Tactical, trained by Andrew Balding, who was a Group 2 winner last year on good to soft ground. And it's only two really disappointing runs in its career came on soft ground in Group 1. So either it was the class or the ground or a bit of both that foiled Tactical in the past. And because of that, I'm overlooking it, but I am with the Queen and I'm with her apparent second string. Light Refrain is the choice in the Jersey Stakes for William Haggis and Tom Marquand. Now, this Light Refrain is a filly taking on the colt. She's by Frankel. She had fair form, nothing more than fair form as a 2-year-old. And but she has done very, very well this season. She won on her reappearance at Nottingham in a listed race on soft ground over 6 furlongs. She really was very, very impressive. And significantly, it was against older horses, which for a 3-year-old to do earlier in the season is quite an achievement. And then she stepped up to a Group 2 at Haydock on heavy ground, the Sandy Lane Stakes, that was won by the shock scorer Rohan. But she was only beaten 1 length in a blanket finish, staying on strongly into 4th. The 7 furlongs, the uphill finish, and most particularly the ground, I think, are really going to suit this daughter of Frankel. And when I looked at it earlier on this morning, she was a 16-1 shot. She's now down to 14-1, but I still think that's a fair price each way for 5 places with Sky Bet. Remember, as always, shop around for the odds that you prefer, the biggest odds, or the place terms that you find more favourable, or indeed for a bookmaker that's going to give you the best odds guaranteed if the starting price is bigger than the price that you take. But Light Refrain, my first choice in the 305, the Jersey Stakes, 14-1 each way. Hopefully it'll be hats off to Her Majesty. Now, the 340 race is, I think, a brilliant renewal of the Hardwick Stakes. Quite how this isn't Group 1, I don't know. But it's still Group 2. It's over 1.5 miles, soft ground at 340. And the ground is going to be a really significant factor. Now, Broome was favourite last time I looked for Aidan O'Brien. Been really busy this season with 4 runs, won the first 3, but then got nutted right on the line by Helvet Dream in the Group 1 Tattersalls Gold Cup at the Curragh last time. He's won over the... It's a horse who's run well here at the track before, but I just worry that the very busy campaign he's had might take its toll in this much hotter race. Now, he'll be accompanied to post probably because I think that Mogul might not run because he needs better ground. So Mogul, I think, is, in my mind, a slight doubt. But Japan, I think, will run. He was third to pile driver in the Coronation Cup last time out, having won at Chester on easy ground at Group 3. He won the King Edward VII Stakes at the 2019 Royal Ascot. And he's had a couple of poor runs here as well in and amongst, not quite hitting the heights he did in the past, but certainly not a horse to rule out Japan. But I'm going against Aidan O'Brien's 3. Owen Burrows has a horse called Hookham, who won well on soft ground at Goodwood in May, but that was enlisted company, and this is a much stiffer assignment. He's run well, though, over the course and distance before because he won last season's King George V Handicap at Royal Ascot. So he's a horse who I think he's improving all the time. One horse who's in absolutely blistering form is Il Arab, trained by William Haggis. He's won his last 6, including at York last time out in a 1.5 mile handicap of 102. He won by 3.5 lengths. He's also twice a winner on soft ground. He's tough as old boots. And I can see him getting very much involved. Il Arab, one of my favourite horses, runs here. That is Logician, John Gosden's Logician. Such a lovely big stamp of a horse, this grey, but he does have a few questions to answer with some below par performances in recent starts. And that brings me to the one that I've gone with here, even though since I picked the horse out earlier today, having woken up to find the ground has changed so much, the odds have absolutely collapsed. But I can't go against Wonderful Tonight. And David Monissier is the trainer, and William Buick is on board, this terrific filly. She won 3 of her last 4 in 2020, a Group 3 at Deauville on heavy ground, over 1.5 miles. She won a Group 1 at Longchamp on heavy ground, over 1.75 miles. And then she went to Champions Day at Ascot and won the Group 1 fillies and mares on soft ground. She is a wonderful filly owned by Christopher Wright, who loves to get her toe in. She beat very strong opposition at Ascot in October. She's run creditably first time out in the past. I'm sure ideally they would have liked to have gotten a run into her, but I still think she's got a very big chance. The yard has been amongst the winners, and of course, not so very long ago, they provided the first leg of that brilliant treble we had 3 or 4 weeks back with Nuit Saint-Georges, who battled home for us at Goodwood. Now, this morning, she was a 9-1 chance, and I thought that was a really outstanding price, but it has totally gone. I think people have seen the ground, and they're with Wonderful Tonight. 11-2, the best odds I can find now, with 4 places on offer with Bet365, but the odds are going on Wonderful Tonight. I think she's going to run a massive race against the Colts, and I think she could prove to be a bit of a star this season when ground conditions are in her favour. On to the third choice of the day, that is in the Diamond Jubilee Stakes, the 420, one of the highlights of the week, Group 1, over 6 furlongs, 14 runners, soft ground. Starman, favourite, but a little uneasy when I had a look at the market earlier on. He was really impressive, winning very nicely on his reappearance in the Duke of York Stakes at York in May. His only really poor run of his career came on soft ground, though. That was in the Champions Sprint in October, but it was at the end of a hard season, and maybe you can excuse him for that. He might have just been over the top after a hard campaign. Dream of Dreams is a horse I love, a really bonny chestnut, trained by Michael Stout. The course and the ground really suit him. He's already won this season at Windsor, where he beat Garris, who may reoppose. He was beaten ahead in this race last year by Hello Yumzine. He would have won in another stride. He's going to be a big danger to all. Nahar was second behind Starman in that Duke of York Stakes, and he's a horse who I think a lot of people will be looking at here. But the Duke of York Stakes, I think, is the key, because Nahar was second, Oxted was third. He came out and won the King's Stand Stakes earlier in the week. And then Summergun fourth, Ventura Rebel fifth, Art Power sixth, Emiratiana seventh, and Final Song ninth. Leave Oxted out of the equation. He's putting his hooves up after his work earlier in the week. But all the others are running again in this race. It's almost a rerun of the Duke of York Stakes. And because of that, my choice is one of those that finished a little bit down the list, which was Art Power. And Art Power is trained by Tim Easterby, the mount of the former champion from Brazil, Sylvester de Sousa, who hopefully will come out of the stalls for us this time and not be standing there smoking a cigar like the old advert used to be. Now, Art Power was joint favourite to win at York. He's a horse who's very highly regarded, but he didn't break very well and then was keen, and it was his first start of the season. He didn't run at all badly, but I think he's going to improve a lot for that. And this horse was hugely progressive in 2020. He won a Newcastle Novice Stakes over 6 furlongs. Then he came to Ascot for a 5 furlong handicap and won with a bit in hand off 97 before going across to Naas and winning a Group 3 over 6 furlongs. He was fourth later on in the season to Dream of Dreams in the Sprint Cup at Haydock on testing ground. And he also wasn't beaten at all far by Glen Shield in the Champions Sprint at Ascot last October. Now, Glen Shield is one who will be in the race on Saturday and is one I fear for Holly Doyle. And he ran okay at the Curragh on his reappearance, but probably was in need of it. He could prove to be the biggest danger for me to Art Power. But I think Art Power is going to run a massive race for the North. And 15-2 are the best odds on offer. The 8-1 has gone, and it's each way with quite a few firms at Art Power, and plenty of them are paying 4 places, so don't accept any less. So for me, the Diamond Jubilee Stakes 420 Saturday, Art Power for Tim Easterby and Sylvester de Sousa. And then my final selection of the meeting, hopefully by which point our poor start to the fixture will have been just a distant memory. I hope so. The 5:35 race is the Golden Gates Handicap, one of the newer races added to the fixture last year. It's a 1.25 mile handicap for 3-year-olds only, and there'll be 16 runners, most firms paying at least 5 places. It is absolutely wide open. Now, I've made a few notes here, but all I've done essentially is cross out a number of horses and then put this name, C-Set, in brackets, if he gets in. He was first reserve. C-Set is trained by Richard Fahey, and at the time of this recording, Friday lunchtime, no jockey declared. He's owned by Nick Bradley Racing, who have been doing absolute wonders with some wonderful success. A really outstanding ownership group. I don't have any interest in them, but you've got to admire the way they go about their business. Well, the good news is that since I made my notes, there has been an on-runner, and that means that C-Set is going to run. He was the first reserve. So I'm really pleased about this because he was one of my notebook horses last season, and he absolutely loves soft ground. So Richard Fahey, I'm sure, will be very, very pleased that he's gone into the race. Now, this horse stayed on well on his most recent start up at Haydock, a race won by Radebalg, who got the run of the race. That wasn't the case for C-Set, who was blocked a couple of times in his run. When he got out, he stayed on really well in the testing ground to be beaten about a length. I think it all looks ideal for him. I think the step up to the 1.25 miles is also going to suit. Hopefully, he'll be okay going round a bend. I'm not sure he's run, certainly not recently, on a round course. And the 12-1 that was available when they weren't sure if he's going to run has understandably gone. 9-1 are the odds on offer. 5 places each way. I think he's a very sporting bet in the last race, which for a lot of people may be the getting out stakes. I just hope it's not going to be the getting further in it. As I said, don't chase your money. It's a marathon, not a sprint when you're backing horses. Don't look at it over the course of a day or even over the meeting. Look at it over the course of a month and most fairly over the course of a season or your whole year. And if you do that as I do, and with the type of tips I've been giving over the last 10 months or so, then you're sure to be, as I am, well ahead. So my final tip, Saturday, 5:35, C-Set. Let's hope he and the other 3 run really well. Let's hope my tips, the remaining 3, with the 1 non-runner now already for Friday, let's hope they run well too. And let's hope everybody manages to stay reasonably dry and it doesn't turn into an absolute quagmire when the form book can be absolutely chucked out of the window. Best of luck for Friday and, of course, for these Saturday selections. We'll be back next weekend at Sportsbet TV with another look at the big races of the weekend. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, thanks for joining me very much throughout the course of Royal Ascot. And I look forward to you doing well and joining me again next week. Bye-bye for now.